What's going on, Jigsaw Land? It's Thomas DeLauer, and as you well know, whenever you're consuming magnesium, it's going to help get your system moving. It's relaxing your colon, it's relaxing your gut, so it's making it so, well, you can do your business a little bit easier. But whenever you can't get your hands on some magnesium, the best bet might be utilizing some different kinds of yogurt. So in this video, I'm going to break down the difference between Greek yogurt and Bulgarian yogurt, which might be one that you've never even heard of before. So let's get down to the details. So the first thing I want to talk about is Greek yogurt. I'm going to give you a quick breakdown on how Greek yogurt is actually created. So when you first start out with yogurt, you strain it. You strain it a couple of times. But with Greek yogurt, you're straining it multiple times until it's thicker. Essentially, you're getting the whey out of the yogurt, so you're left with just the solid. This ends up leaving you with a little bit more sugar and a little bit more depth and consistency to the actual yogurt. It also ends up giving you a little bit of a higher protein content, which in theory, when we're talking about ketosis, people think that that's good. But if you've watched a lot of my videos, then you know that protein isn't really the answer. We're looking for a higher fat versus higher protein. When we look at the bacteria strains that are in Greek yogurt, we have Thermophilus and Bulgaricus. So two very defined kinds of bacteria. Now these kinds of bacteria work predominantly in your upper intestinal tract. So we're talking about stomach bloating, we're talking about helping aid in digestion when it comes down to first eating food. We're not talking about colonization within the gut, we're not talking about colonization within the colon, we're talking about fairly localized intestinal flora that's going to be sitting in your small intestine and in your stomach for the most part. Now again, because it's a higher protein content, you also end up having a lot more of a risk of it going through gluconeogenesis and converting into a sugar. So the carb content of Greek yogurt is already naturally high, but the protein has a propensity to convert into even more sugar. I'm not saying that Greek yogurt's bad, I'm just saying that Bulgarian yogurt might be a better example to use on a ketogenic diet. So that's where we take a look at Bulgarian yogurt. Now Bulgarian yogurt is a little bit different in the fact that it is not strained. So you're left with all the goodness that's normally going to come from yogurt, but it's not going through the straining process, which means you're left with a little bit more whey, which in theory would make you think there's going to be more milk sugar in it. But since there are more bacteria strains in Bulgarian yogurt, they feed off of the sugar and end up killing off the sugar. So you ultimately end up with a much better yogurt that ends up having more in the way of the probiotic strains. So in this case, we're looking at L. bulgaricus that's in here, we're looking at acidophilus, we're also looking at the thermophilus, and we're still looking at the bifidum that's in there. So we've got 4 different kinds of probiotic bacteria that are going into a Bulgarian yogurt versus 2 different kinds that are going into a Greek yogurt, thereby giving you a much more diverse set of bacteria that's going to go into your intestinal tract. And some of the bacteria that's in Bulgarian yogurt has been shown to colonize a bit more, not only in the small intestine, but also into the large intestine, which means that you are getting the probiotic activity that you need, not just in the stomach, but all the way through the intestinal tract and all the way through the colon, which can help you out immensely when you're on a ketogenic diet, when you're sometimes lacking the fiber that you might need to be able to get the digestion that you fully want. Last but not least, when we're looking at Bulgarian yogurt, is a significantly lower carb content. So for example, when we take a look at Bulgarian yogurt, we have 5 grams of carbohydrates per serving for a 1 cup serving with 8 grams of fat. And then with Greek yogurt, we have 9 grams of carbs and 11 grams of fat for the full fat, but not many people eat the full fat version. You see, the problem here is since it's already a higher carbohydrate content and we're combining that with an already high fat content, we're getting a little bit of an insulin spike that's happening whenever we're having the carbohydrates that are coming from the milk sugar. So carbs plus fat equals storing fat a lot easier, whereas here we have a much lower level of carbohydrates. You're not having that insulin spike as much, plus the extra bacteria are going to help break down the sugars a little bit more. Anyway, one isn't necessarily better than the other. Greek yogurt is going to be better if you want a little bit more protein, but Bulgarian yogurt is going to be a bit better if you're looking for the diverse probiotic effect, since there's about 90 billion CFU in a serving of Bulgarian yogurt versus Greek yogurt, about 25 to 30 billion CFU. Still a lot of bacteria, but one is almost 3 times as much as the other. So as always, Jigsaw Land, make sure you're keeping it locked in here and click on the link and check out Jigsaw's Mag SRT so that you can get the wide spectrum of magnesium that you need to keep your system moving quite well so you don't have to be living on Bulgarian yogurt. I'll see you soon.